Cynthia, girl, it still gives me chills every time I hear it. It is so powerful. I was rooting for you and Ariana, okay? And what in the world is Honora again? I am confused. But family, it is too early in the show to get into this, so stay close, culture and entertainment. We're going to get into all of it, okay? All of it today. Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna Deshawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment. Also, family, I love how y'all have been dropping me queer news tips. Please keep them coming. I love sharing the stories, the people, the organizations that I have not heard about. There are so many of them. So please keep dropping your queer news tips on our line. How to do it is in the show notes. Iowa makes the worst kind of history, becoming the first state in the country to remove gender identity as a protected class. And I just can't overstate how extraordinary it is, right? To continue to reverse law in this way just to be discriminatory, just to be hateful against less than 1% of our population. Nearly 2,000 people gathered inside and outside of the Capitol to protest against Iowa removing gender identity as a protected class in their civil rights law. And it passed pretty easily. Let's be very clear. The Iowa Senate passed the bill 33-15 along party lines, and less than an hour later, the House passed the bill 60-35, and actually 5 Republicans joined Democrats against removing gender identity as a protected clause. A week ago, they introduced this. It passed the Senate, and then less than an hour later, it passed the House. And then their Republican governor signed it into law. Senator Tony Bezziano was truly a bright light who called out Republicans for their complete disregard for trans folks. He said this: these people aren't downstairs because they got nothing else to do. Their lives are on the line and should be taken seriously. Most of you don't even know someone who's transgender. You don't even know them, but you hate them. You have to hate them because you cannot do what you're doing today if you didn't. He goes on to say, shame on all of you Christians who want to keep talking about your faith when this is what God talked about. Family, he said, I don't know where you go to church and I don't know what you read, but being a good Christian doesn't take much. Do unto others. Take care of your neighbor. So what does all of this actually mean? Civil rights acts prohibit discrimination at your job, when you're seeking housing, in education, applying for credit, and for public accommodations. So now birth certificates in Iowa reflect a person's sex at birth. They also added new definitions for male, female, and sex. The first trans person elected to Iowa's General Assembly, Representative Amy, said this: felt like a gut punch. This bill revokes protections to our jobs, our homes, and our ability to access credit. In other words, it deprives us of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. She went on to say, our trans siblings in Iowa refuse to give up in despair. Because the greatest act of rebellion that you can do in these dystopian times is to live your life unafraid and be happy. That is her message to our trans siblings in Iowa. In more anti-trans political news, the military is once again removing trans service members from active duty. In a memo filed in court last Wednesday, the Pentagon has 30 days to identify service members who have a, quote, and I'm quoting here, a current diagnosis or history of, or exhibit symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria. Once this list is compiled, family, all of these people will be removed and lose their jobs. They will lose their benefits. Now, a waiver can be issued for some trans service members, but that comes with conditions. These will be reviewed case by case. And essentially, if they think you can fight and be an asset for war, you can stay. These waivers can only be granted if the service member also can show evidence of 36 months of stability in their sex assigned at birth without distress or impairment, so 3 years, okay? They also must demonstrate they've never attempted to medically transition and must be willing to adhere to the military standards for their sex at birth. Now, last month, if y'all remember, family, because let's be clear, all of this political nonsense is truly overwhelming, so it's hard to keep up. But last week, I shared here on the pod, right, that there has been a lawsuit filed in response to Voldemort's executive order banning trans folks from serving, right? The National Center for Lesbian Rights, NCLR, and GLBTQ legal advocates and defenders are fighting on behalf of 6 active duty trans members and 2 trans members of our community who want to serve. They are standing on the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause as why this is unconstitutional. Well, we already know lawsuits take a whole bunch of time, okay? Now, the number varies, but approximately 10 to 15,000 trans folks actually serve in the military today. And I will say this time and time again, we live in a country with a volunteer service. With a service that is declining, okay, in recruitment. And yet here we are talking about kicking out 10 to 15,000 service members who want to serve this country. Chile. The last thing they need to be doing is kicking people out. Because guess who's not signing up? That would be me. Well, now let's jump into some culture and entertainment. I promise this will be my favorite part of the show this season because culture and entertainment will be the way we sustain ourselves during this dark political season. For real. In entertainment, family, the Oscars were Sunday night. The Academy Awards are the night in Hollywood, the night where the best actors, the best actresses, the best filmmakers, the studios shine bright, okay, in Hollywood. Winning an Oscar is still the top honor. The moment for me, though, was when Paul Tazewell took home the Oscar for Best Costume Design for Wicked, making him the first Black man to win, which in turn makes him the first Black gay man to win an Oscar for Best Costume Design. And can I say that he just looked fabulous? He looks like he styles people for a living, okay? And to have Coleman Domingo in the front row, standing in his beautiful red suit, okay? It was poetry in motion. That was definitely the moment for me. Then Queen Latifah performing in tribute to Quincy Jones, Chef's Kiss, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, magnificent as always. Zoe Saldana winning Best Supporting Actress for Emilia Perez. I mean, Zoe, great, but this film, good grief. Next in culture, I want to share about this initiative I learned about while attending the Creating Change conference. It's called the National Rainbow College Fund. That's right. There is a National Rainbow College Fund. I could tell you about it, but Rogelio, the manager of the fund, dropped through the Queer News tip line this week to tell us all about it.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Rogelio Espinosa. I am the manager of the National Rainbow College Fund Scholarship powered by the San Diego Foundation. We recently launched a scholarship program that is exclusively dedicated to support LGBTQ students in the pursuit of their higher education, whether they're in or out of the closet. The mission is to ease the financial burden of LGBTQ students, including those who may not be open about their identities, and helping them pursue their educational goals. As we know, LGBTQ students face higher rates of challenges such as family rejection, mental health issues, and social acceptance, which we know will impact their ability to afford college and their long-term financial stability. For students to apply, they go to the rainbowcollegefund.com scholarship and apply for our online application. Students must be current or prospective college students, high school seniors, be enrolled in a trade or vocational school, or be adult reentry. Students must be residents of California for at least 1 year and demonstrate some form of financial need. Students will have to either complete and submit the FAFSA, the Federal Student Aid Estimator Tool, or the California DREAM Act application. Students must be enrolled in at least 6 units in any accredited, like I mentioned, public, nonprofit community college, four-year university, or trade or vocational school in the United States. More importantly, our main priority is to ensure that we maintain students' privacy and safety. Students will have access to their online application to check for award status updates, document requests. However, all information is confidential and private, so we hope that you apply.
Thank you, Rogelio. And family, spread the word, okay? Spread the word that the National Rainbow College Fund exists. If you know someone who fits the criteria, yes, tell them to apply. If you're listening and you want to invest in the fund, you can do that too. Go visit rainbowcollegefund.org. That is rainbowcollegefund.org. Okay? A link is where? Yes, say it with me, in the show notes. And now, family, it's time for Anna's Got a Word because Anna's always got a word. And this week, I want the word to come from Jane Addams. Jane Addams is a suffragist. She is a Chicago icon, a legend, a fighter, yes, for the less fortunate. And she was also the first American woman to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931 for her work. I mean, she is that girl. She founded Hull House, a progressive social settlement that offered education and social services to women and working class folks and immigrants and laborers. She was that girl. And she was a lesbian, okay? Was in a relationship for over 40 years. The people knew. You understand? And as we begin Women's History Month, it just seems fitting, yes, to celebrate Jane Addams. She says, true peace is not merely the absence of war, it is the presence of justice. And she also goes on to say, nothing can be worse than the fear that one had given up too soon and left one unexpended effort, which might have saved the world. I'm leaving y'all with these two quotes because the world really is on fire. And peace is not the absence of war. It is absolutely the presence of justice. And as we see these laws and politics continue to attack the most vulnerable amongst us, we have to ask ourselves, where is the justice? And we also have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to fight against it? And I think this last quote about nothing can be worse than the fear someone has given up too soon just really resonates with me, because it could be just that one more act, that one thing you do that could make all the difference. But maybe you just got too tired to get there. And this is the time when we just can't be too tired. You just can't. Find the people who can fill you up, okay, when you get to E. Maybe you're working at 50% sometimes, yes, but just find community that can get you through to do that one thing that Jane Addams says might just save the world. Till next week, family.